right, you're very welcome. A beautiful morning to you. My name is Rose Blossom, and of course, you're welcome to Women's Corner. Here we talk about women and everything that has to do with women. We try to empower you, educate you, and at the same time, make sure that you are informed. You know, information is key, and no man is an island of knowledge. So we always bring a lot of guests in, to talk to us as women, and also we share experiences from our day-to-day life based on the topic we're discussing. And if you don't have a TV screen beside you, you can actually watch us live on Facebook and on Twitter. Just type in Galaxy Television, and of course, you have, the page is up and you can watch us live. But also, if you don't want to go through our social media handles, you can actually download Galaxy Television app from Google Play Store or Apple Play Store, so you can watch all of our live programs. And of course, I have amazing two guests, which today is quite a bit it's sensitive. It's gonna be so touchy. So get ready. If you have tissue, you can put your tissue aside, because here it's just tears of joy, because this is something that a lot of people have gone through, and they've lost their lives. But here are amazing persons, women, and have gone through these, and they scaled through, and they are here to share their story. We have two guests. We have a Zoom guest, and of course we have a live guest. But we're talking about cancer and health in women. So we have two cancer survivors here. I'll be talking, one is breast cancer and the other one is cervical cancer. So they will be talking to us, to educate us and share their stories. And I hope you're ready to learn, to listen, and definitely be involved, because it can hit anybody at any time. And we don't pray for it, but still, there are still ways you can have fun. Welcome back. Yes, like I said, we're talking about cancer and health in women. And of course, I will start from my in-house guest first. My in-house guest name is Eze Franca Anchibasi. She is a cervical cancer survivor and the president of My Body, My Outfit.
Thank you for having me. It feels nice to be on that.
It's good to have you. You look all colorful.
Thank
It's just like we should switch attire, you understand?
Oh.
Anyways, I have my Zoom guest too already sitting pretty, waiting for me to introduce her. Her name is Abigail Simon Hart. She is a breast cancer survivor also. She's a co-founder of Briton Foundation. Good morning, Abigail.
Good morning. Thank you so much for letting me join in.
Thank you so much for joining in. So I'm going to start with my in-house guest. Of course, yes, a lot of people will definitely want to hear your story, and definitely people want to hear Abigail's story too. So I'm going to just start first. Can you just share your story, your journey, and try to make it as precise as possible, so we can have enough time for Abigail also to share her story. So please.
Okay, my name is Franca Eze. I'm a cervical cancer survivor, 8 years survivor. Had a child after I survived. What I thought I had was toilet infection. What we generally call toilet infection, because medically there's nothing like toilet infection. What it turned out that I had was stage 2 cervical cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, so what saved me was early detection and early proper medical treatment. Yeah, so my story is that of triumph, resilience, and God's mercies.
I will be pushed to ask, why did you think it was a toilet infection? What are those things you saw that you thought was toilet infection, but after confirming from your test?
Okay, the average Nigerian woman would think that every infection in the reproductive organ is toilet infection. We coined the word toilet infection. Medically, there is nothing like toilet infection. You wouldn't go to the hospital and be told that you tested positive to toilet infection. So I just assumed that the infection I was dealing with, I got from the toilet. So I kept treating it, kept self-medicating until one lucky day that my neighbor told me about cervical screening. I did go for the screening, but I was so unfortunate that the matron who was supposed to screen me didn't carry out the screening because I had smelly vaginal discharge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. it was that bad. You know, so when she asked me to pull up and lie down on the examination bed, I did that, and immediately I opened my leg, the smell came. And she was like, now human being, they smell like this. I beg, dress up, calm down. In 3 years' time, go and repeat the test. So it was a bad case for me because I wasn't present when they did presentation on what cervical cancer is. Yes. I wasn't aware of any word like cervical cancer. It was my first time. I was late to the event. I didn't attend the health talk. I only went in for the examination, and she didn't carry out the examination. She only said I should go back for another test in 3 years' time. And that incident happened in a neighborhood where I live. So the women who I buy things from the market were at that event. The woman who invited me lives on my street. People who sell and buy around me all saw me, the way she treated me. So I left that place stigmatized. I stopped opening my provision shop because I had a provision shop at the time. I stopped opening my provision shop, and then I continued crying. I didn't tell my husband about it, didn't tell my sister, didn't tell anyone, but I knew something was going on. And then I had recurrent sore throat. Occasionally my children would say, "Mommy, your mouth is smelling." You know, then I just started losing weight, and I somehow knew that all was not well. You know, so but I prayed and prayed, and I'm a praying girl, I'm an orphan, so I kept praying. You know, so on a certain day, 4 months later, another NGO came to the neighborhood. You know, I always tell people that when God has a purpose for your life, all things will work together for your good. You know, so this particular NGO came in, and then I was curious at this time to find out why I had all those symptoms. I just went to ask questions, you know, so I decided to ask questions, but not to open my body again, so that, you know, so this time around I went in for the screening, and reluctantly I said, "God bless everyone here." And the matron said, come in, are you a pastor's wife?" I said, "No, I'm just an ordinary child of God." She said, "No, you are not ordinary." Immediately you greeted, the Holy Spirit said, "This, my daughter, is the reason why you came to Egbeda bus stop." So I started crying. She said, "Lie down, let's carry out your screening. You are late, but we'll just do it." I said, "I don't want to carry out screening." She said, "You can't tell us what to do." So I laid down. Immediately I opened my leg, she covered her nose. So at that point I knew that whatever was wrong with me was very serious. And this was happening in 2016. It wasn't the time when ordinary people wore nose masks. So if this woman would cover her nose, then whatever made that other matron not to carry out, so, and it was 4 months later, you know, so she did the screening. She called 2 other nurses to come look at the place. They looked at it, they nodded their head, and then she said, "Where is your husband?" I cried, called my husband, called my sister. She did the examination for my sister. She told my sister she was okay, and then she looked at me and said, "For this woman, the cancer is spreading." My sister said, "Which cancer?" "Franca no get cancer." I said, "Exactly, I don't have cancer." You know, we cried. We did all the drama that comes with hearing bad news, medical bad news and all that. You know, but I have a family who is very supportive. My husband was supportive. My sister was very supportive. We went through the journey, and that was where my healing started. You know, the team that eventually carried out the examination was amazing. You know, like I tell people that our problem as a country is not tribe, is individual. I'm from Benue, my husband is Igbo. The first woman who didn't carry out the screening is Yoruba. The second woman who carried out the screening is Yoruba.
So it's not just about tribe.
It's not about tribe, it's about individual.
So from our story, I could deduce 2 things now. The first one, which starting from what she said, is sometimes it's not just about tribe, it's your individual. That's why we are even here to talk to women. Because the first people that bring us down is even women, our own gender.
Of course.
We are the one that body shame ourselves, we make mockery of ourselves. We're the first person to spread the lies. You know, you tell this person your secrets and you say, "Don't say it." Now it's enough that you're even saying it, but you add Maggi, you add salt, you spice it up, you know. We just need to learn to support ourselves. And the second one is, don't self-medicate. Always make sure you go for tests. And when you see something is reoccurring, it's like every time it keeps coming up, make sure you see a health practitioner, a medical doctor, so you could get yourself tested and start treating it. Like now, if she had left it hanging, possibly she might not be been able to survive it. But because she, immediately started dealing with the issue, and she was able to be a survivor to share her story, and that's why she's here, so that we women can actually understand that our body are very, very sensitive. In fact, we have openings all over our body, so you need to be very careful. So at this point now, I'm going to ask Abigail to share her story too. So give us detail of, like she said, the symptom, what you saw, and how you went about it, so that people can learn from those details. Over to you, Abigail.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I grew up with a mother who had cancer 4 times. 4 times the doctor said she would die. 4 times she beat cancer. And she lived for 33 years after the doctor said there was no hope for her, which just shows, for starters, that when God opens the door, nobody can close it. And when God closes the door, nobody can open it. When she was diagnosed with cancer for the 5th time, she was dead within 6 weeks. So first thing I want to say is that everybody's going to die. So having cancer does not mean you're going to die. That's the first thing I have to say. It is not a death sentence. Because my mother had cancer, I was very, very breast aware, because my mother had breast cancer. So I started, I had my first mammogram at the age of 30, because I had a breast lump, which ultimately, thank God, was actually benign. And then I continued doing mammograms. Every year I was doing either an ultrasound or mammogram or both. So I started screening very early because of a supposed family history of breast cancer. And I remember I went to have a mammogram done. And that particular day, I had a gut feel that something wasn't right. They told me it was fine, but my spirit was bugging me. And I remember looking in the mirror that morning, and I said to myself, if I had breast cancer, what will I do? That day I made up my mind I would remove both breasts. So since I was going on leave, on holiday, I decided to go and redo the mammogram and ultrasound. And that day I went to the hospital. I knew something was wrong. There's something about gut feel, call it spirits. I knew something was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times people are too scared to go and check things. Anyway, I got to the hospital. On that particular day, the woman doing the mammogram, the radiographer, was a specialist in rare cancers. That was her own area of interest, to show you how God works. I got in there, and for the first time in my life, I was scared of having a mammogram. We did the mammogram. She did an enlarged mammogram. She now said, look, I need to do an ultrasound. We now did ultrasound, and she looked at me and said, look, something is telling me I should do a biopsy. You have insurance. Can we just do a biopsy? I want to be sure that if I'm wrong, then no problem. But if I'm right, we have got it early. She did a biopsy, and all 4 samples came back with cancer. I get a phone call the next day from the surgeon, not from the hospital, from the surgeon, to say, okay, they understand I'm going back to Nigeria. I cannot go back until I see the surgeon. This was the surgeon calling me. He now tells me he's not working on that day. I should please come to his house. I need to see him before I go. And that's when I realized it has to be bad. No English doctor will call you to his house on his day off unless it's bad news. I got there. He didn't waste time. Over there, they're very factual. He said, look, I have good news. I have bad news. Which one do you want first? I said, please give me the bad news. He said, you have cancer. That's the bad news. The good news is we got it early. I just said, take both breasts off. He was after that, I didn't hear anything. Mine was remove both breasts.
Hello.
I had already made up my mind. 5 days later, I had a double mastectomy.
Abigail,
And yeah.
Please just hold on, please, just a little bit. We have a commercial break, and we have to take that right now. So please don't forget where you stopped at. So right after this commercial break, we'll definitely come back to your story. Definitely. So let's go on the commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Yes, we're listening. That's a commercial break, and of course, let's Abigail continue with her story. Of course, after meeting the doctor privately. So continue from there.
Okay, so basically, I decided to remove both breasts, and I remember when I told everybody who cared to know I had breast cancer. I didn't hide it because I was not prepared to deal with stigma as well as everything else. Mine is I have cancer. I'm going for surgery. And that way, people who had issues with it would fall away, and I could focus with people who really cared about me, because I could not enter surgery with negativity around me. So that's one thing I always tell people, is that you cannot fight cancer and fight stigma and fight everybody else. Focus on your cancer journey. So I didn't hide my diagnosis at all. Anybody who cared to hear, I told them I had cancer. I went into this, had my surgery. When I came out of the theater, I ate all my food, only to discover that there was blood on my bed sheet. Something inside the surgical area had come undone. I had to go back into theater. My lungs had collapsed. I needed a blood transfusion. It was really, I was in dire straits. And I remember that when I was in and out of consciousness, I remember I saw myself walking through a tunnel. And this tunnel, there was like blood everywhere. And I saw what looked like little devils or whatever, like, you know, when you play computer games. And there was just like blood everywhere. Then this bright rain started falling. And I now saw myself walking in a field. And that just took me to Psalm 23. Although I walk the valley of shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. I knew at that point in time I was going to be okay. And there was purpose. One thing I've come to realize, you have a choice. When you're diagnosed with cancer, you have two options. You can feel sorry for yourself and become a victim and choose to die. Or you can say, look, I'm going to turn this around. What the enemy went for evil, I'm going to turn around for good. I'm going to use my experience to help other people. Because I made the decision quickly, they got all the cancer. I went on hormonal treatment for 4.5 years, and 10 years later, I'm totally cancer-free now. And I work with cancer patients at all stages to let them know that, look, the first thing you have to understand is that whether you live or die is in God's hands. You make the best of every single day. Every day is a gift. Some people go to sleep, they don't wake up in the morning. They didn't have cancer. Some people walk on the road, car will jam them. They didn't have cancer. So the first thing is that if you have a cancer diagnosis, focus on living, not on dying. Having a cancer diagnosis does not mean they're going to die. And even if the cancer, if they say it's terminal, I know somebody with stage 4 cancer, metastaged the brain. They gave her 3 months. Almost 8 years later, she's alive and she's on constant chemo, but she's alive and she's living her life. So I think the message I want to get here is, number one, your worst enemy is yourself. If you believe you're going to die, you will die. The Bible says, be it unto you according to your faith. It's a choice. I said before you life and death, blessings and curses, choose life. So the first thing you have to decide, you're going to fight. Whatever the doctor tells you, yes, it's good, or medical science has said X. Look at all you need to do, but start treatment. Do not abdicate going to hospital. Faith is important, and you can have faith and go to hospital. It's not a choice. It's not, if I go to hospital, it means I don't have faith in God. I believe that God healed me, but he used medicine and doctors and a hospital to heal me. So it's important we understand that faith in the journey is important, but let's not abdicate medical treatments and say that I'm waiting for an angel to come and heal me. Some people get healing in their houses, though, but I don't know too many. So it's important that you go to hospital when you are diagnosed with any medical condition and look for help. And you can get all your fellow brethren to pray along with you for healing. But it's good to pray together. But please go to the hospital.
Thank you very much. I love the point where you said that, yes, you know of some that have been healed in their home by faith. Does not mean that your own faith would heal you. Still do not make sure that you do it. You have to get to the hospital. You have to do the test. You have to even know what is wrong with you first before you start having faith for healing. And if you get to a point, you find out that your faith is not strong enough to take you through, get to the hospital and do the proper treatment. Take the right test and let them start treating you. Thank you very much for that one. That's a very beautiful advice, because I know it's not just men. Men have this habitual thing of any little thing they go to take herbs, agbo and all of that. I know women, they also take a lot of agbo herbs. And in fact, there's a lady I know that every time you always see her, she's taking herbs, she's taking drugs, she just self-medicates. I'll be like, I hope these things you're taking, you are still going to look for a child, you're still going to give birth tomorrow, later in the future. Are you sure all these things you're taking would not even cause you not to get pregnant, or in fact affect your womb? Because these things are things that have to come under prescription. And even the doctor will tell you, when you take a drug for a particular day, if it does not work for 7 days, for 3 days, please visit me again.
Not 7 days, please.
No, there are some drugs you take 7 days.
Okay.
You take, they tell you, okay, take this for 7 days. They say some will take through 3 days. Now, when you take for 3-4 days, is not enough. They say come back, because they are going to check deeper now that maybe that's not what the problem is not what they are treating. There's something that is triggering whatever symptoms that you're having. So please, women out there, men out there, please take your health very important. Like she said, your first enemy is yourself. So always make sure you talk to yourself. Yeah. Okay,
Of traditional herbs is not an exact science, and not everybody knows how to do it. One leaf out of place can make the difference between something that will cure you and something that will kill you. So I think that it's really important that our government authorities start to work with some of these traditional healers to now start regularizing and regulating this so that there's measurements. Because, I know somebody whose brother took Agbo and had kidney failure and died. And that's not to say that every Agbo has a problem, but how do you know the Agbo that's the correct one? How do you know the herbalist that actually knows? These are things that are passed down from generation to generation. And these things are dying out. There is spoken word, it's like spoken stories. So it's really important that very quickly government needs to start working with some of these traditional healers to start to put measurements, exact sciences, before they all die out and we're left with a bunch of quacks. It's quite important, I think. Herbal is, even there's some herbs that you take that will affect the medication you're on. Even things like ginger and turmeric. If you're on chemotherapy, it can affect the efficacy of these. So anytime you're taking supplements, please tell the doctor that's treating you for any disease. Because taking too much ginger and Zobo and Co can affect your blood pressure if you're on blood pressure medications. It can make the blood pressure medication too effective. So please don't be mixing herbs and mixing medications and mixing treatments without discussing with your doctor first. It can be dangerous for you.
Thank you very much. Now, because of our time, and I don't want our time to, be fast spent, so we can allow other women to partake of this. Now, for those who probably want to go through tests, they want to talk to you personally, they want to have an encounter with you, they want to probably join your foundation so that they can also be educated. And maybe eventually, maybe they can find someone to talk to. Just like you said, you were stigmatized. You didn't want to even do the test and all of that. Yeah. Maybe there's a woman out there also in that same situation and she wants to reach out to you. So what you would do me is, the both of you would do me a favor. You talk about how people can get to your foundation, how they can get through to you. And if there's any form, if there's anything they need to do to make sure they're part of that foundation. Please, let me start with Franca first before we go to Abigail. Over to you.
Okay, so our social media handle is My Body, My Asset Cancer Foundation on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. There's a phone number on that Facebook page that people can easily reach me. The office address is there, and the NGO will be turning 4 years on the 1st of September. So to mark this 4th anniversary celebration, we'll be carrying out cervical screening for 40 women. Free cervical screening for 40 women. So we...
Do you have a location yet?
Yes.
Okay. Your address, address?
Yes, the address is on the NGO page on Facebook. And I will still put it up on Facebook. So what we are building is a community of women who are medically certified to be healthy. So any woman who wants to join us will be willing to embrace annual routine check. We'll be willing not to self-medicate. And so we are not very rigid with our membership. We just want women who prioritize their health and are conscious of every warning signs that they get. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. She said Instagram and Facebook is My Body, My Asset Foundation. So you can go, can set her up and of course join. Also, Abigail, please, how can they reach you and what are the protocols on how they can be part of the foundation?
Okay. In our foundation, we don't discriminate. We take men, women, children, and we're not only breast cancer, because since cancer doesn't discriminate, we can't really pick and choose who comes to us for assistance. So we do help with all different cancers, not just breast cancer. And you can reach us using our website. That's www.foundation.org.ng. Bricon is spelled BRICON. So it's www.thebriconfoundation.org.ng. And our Instagram handle is @thebriconfoundation, and our Twitter is @thebriconfoundation. So all the information you need is on our website. And we have support groups. We do a food bank for those who need support. So if you need assistance, just reach out. We can't always help everybody, but even if we cannot help you directly, we can direct you to where you can get your help as well, because we do work with other NGOs and other organizations as well.
Okay, thank you very much for that one. So because our time is already fast spent, I just want to ask one question each for the both of you. Now, what would you say to women out there, especially people who are not they don't have cancer? I will not say yet because it's like I'm praying for them to have it. So people who don't have cancer, what advice will you give to them so that they can actually, prevent or be conscious of their health, so they don't have to probably go through that? I will ask the other questions Abigail later.
Okay, so I was stigmatized, and I would say to every woman out there not to stigmatize people who are terminally ill. Don't address people by the name of the illnesses they are battling. Don't say, you don't know that woman will get cancer. It's wrong. And then please embrace annual routine check. If you can save up money to buy ashwebi, to attend parties, and to look all glamorous, a healthy outside starts from the inside. If you spend like 100,000 naira to do a routine check for your birthday and then see a doctor to treat all medical issues, we won't have people slumping on the street and dying. So women, men, everyone, Nigerians should prioritize their health. Enough of all this waiting person, no go no.
Okay, something well, another one is waiting person no they kill them.
Exactly, that's wrong.
In fact, that's one that will kill faster. My father would say, you think education is expensive? Try ignorance.
Exactly.
When ignorance deals with you, you know that education is very cheap. Okay, Abigail, over to you. I just want you to, advise women out there who are probably going through, these stages, or probably they've not even be able to embrace the fact that they need to go for that test. Maybe they are going through a lot of stuff, and possibly they might even be having cancer, but they are, like you said, faith. They're having faith that, no, that thing cannot do me. I don't want to believe in that. What advice will you give to them?
I think, first of all, when you ask God for help, don't tell him how to do his job. He will decide on whether he wants to heal you personally or whether you need to get your help from somewhere else. So speak out. There are people who are too ashamed to ask for help. There are people who have cancer, who their helper. I know people who have come to Foundation, they've not told their families, and they're coming to us, but they don't want anybody to know. And the first thing I tell them is that, look, you need to talk to people so you can deal with that first, and then you can prepare yourself to fight the battle. You can't fight everybody. You need to focus on what you're fighting. The challenge in Nigeria now is there's a lot of what they call lifestyle disease. All the cholera, malaria, and co, they're dealing with them now. But what we're getting is a new breed of disease called lifestyle disease that linked to how you live your lifestyle. High blood pressure, the silent killer. It doesn't show signs. People are dying, dropping dead like flies because they're not checking their BP. Simple BP check, we're not checking. Check your sugar levels. People are getting diabetes because they're not watching what they're eating. We're drinking a lot of soda, soft drinks. We're eating a lot of processed food. We're not eating vegetables and fruits and things. And yes, it's expensive, but people go and spend vast amounts buying alcohol, expensive alcohol. Like Franca says, use the money, go and do a health check. Prevention is a lot cheaper than cure. A lot cheaper than cure. So it's important to be aware, and early detection saves lives. I'm alive, Franca is alive because they caught it early. And many of you know that there's something wrong. You are scared. Don't be afraid. The grace you need when you go will come. Don't worry about what happens to you tomorrow. Deal with it today, and then the grace will come later. The grace is always sufficient when you get started on the journey.
Thank you very much. I love that one. Amazing. Both my two guests have been so amazing. The amazing thing is Abigail has a little bit of humor inside of her. You know when she's talking, she's so serious when she's talking. But she's cracking us here. We're just trying to hold our laughter because we're in the studio and this is a live section. So thank you so much for actually joining Abigail Simon Hart.
You're welcome.
She's a breast cancer.
You're welcome.
Thank
you for having me.
Cancer survivor. She's the co-founder of Breaking Foundation, and of course she has already shared how you can get to her and talk to her. So let's have Abigail on the screen. Why she wave us bye like a normal ritual? We always wave ourselves bye on the screen. Thank you so much for joining.
Bye. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless.
You too. Okay, that's it from Abigail. Thank you so much again. And I also want to thank Eze Franca for being on today. In fact, when I first spoke to her, someone introduced me to her, like, there's somebody that wants to share a story. Like, oh wow, I'm going to clear my decks for this day. She's going to have it. She was supposed to be here on breast cancer day, right?
Yeah.
World Cancer Day. But I was like, no, before that day, leave that day for another day. Let's do this one. We need to say this because it's not easy for people to come out and share their stories, especially knowing the fact that how she even came to become a survivor. There was a whole lot of story, which of course I know if you see her down to certainly the real process of it, you might definitely have to shed one or two tears. But at the same time, you know, I don't know if anybody felt the same way while she was talking and while Abigail was talking. I was literally having goosebumps like all over my body. I was like, wow, that's amazing. So yes, it's a good thing when people share their stories. So I hope you learned how to provide yourself with maximum health care, and that is by loving yourself enough to go for tests. Avoid, like she said, avoid all these soda drinks and all of that people keep taking. You know, some people will say, there's some of my friends will say, you know what? Before they used to sell these fizzy drinks for 150, 100 naira, 200.
No,
Now it's like 400 naira. They'll be like, what's even so valuable about that drink? I'm like, are you sure it's valuable? Because you don't want to spend your money on something that will kill you faster. But like, yes, you get the joke. So yes, please avoid process. I've always been saying it most of the times when I bring tips or health talks. I always in most of them you always see avoid canned foods, avoid processed food, avoid fizzy drinks, avoid alcohol. Is always there. Avoid even smoking. Some people say I don't smoke but I take shisha. Excuse me, what is shisha? If you are not smoking, so what is shisha?
Exactly.
So please let's just always try to, you know, take care of ourselves is very important. And for those who take sachet drinks, there was a time and this federal government wanted to ban drinks, you know, production of sachet, and they tried all their best, but somehow it still became rampant again. So please, the things that kill faster are what is numerous outside and easy to get. Make sure you take care of yourself. Anyways, Franca is still with me in the studio, so but let's quickly go for safety tips. And you know, there's another thing that before I go, there's another thing Abigail said. She said a lot of people are slumming to die. You know, my parents, you know, I don't know, parents are fond of these things. Anything they see, video, talk, oh, please don't pick this number, please share this. I don't know where they see this data, but they always send these things to you. And they send something to me that a lot of people, you see them, they'll just slum and die on the road. You see somebody you're talking to, person just slum and die. And I told my friend, I said that I'm going to check why people keep slumming. But I don't want to believe it's because that somebody's talking to me and the person will just slum and die. No, I think there's something else. There's something to it.
Yeah, there are underlying issues.
And you know, like Abigail said, maybe, just maybe, it could be one of all these things that we eat, we consume. You know, sometimes we don't have rest. We don't even take enough rest. We'll get home, we'll be on our laptop, on our phone till 1, and you're sleeping, you're waking up by 3 or 4. Now your body needs rest. That's all I'm just gonna say. That was pretty short, but I hope you got it. It's just I just had to just give points. I didn't make some explanations. Okay, now this time around we're talking about mental health tips. Excuse me, and this one is how to stop intrusive thoughts that can mar you, thoughts that can make you sad, thoughts that can make you feel bad about yourself, thoughts that can even affect your relationship, your marriage, your life, your lifestyle. You know, even people, sometimes you sit on your own and you start having terrible thoughts about people, you know, start thinking, I don't know, it's just amazing how some persons can sit down and in your mind you're thinking of how to harm the other person. It's just wow. But anyways, that's not why we're here. Well, let's just go see how to stop intrusive thoughts. And when I mean intrusive, it means these are thoughts that can actually, you know, destroy you or destroy the next person. So because if the thoughts are good, it won't be intrusive, it won't be like something that's being forceful. So let's quickly have these tips. I'll be right back to wrap up the show. Stay with us. Right, welcome back. Once again, before I go, I would like to appreciate Abigail Tannenhart for joining us, and also thank you so much, Eze Franca, for joining us. It's been an amazing one. Hopefully on World Cancer Day we would have you again
in
the
very
studio.
Much for having
So
me.
thank you, my viewers, for actually joining us. It's been an amazing one. I hope you learned. If you know you've missed this episode, you can go on Facebook and Twitter to watch us. Also on our YouTube channel, just subscribe, like, and follow us. At this point, I would like to say thank you again for everyone that's made this program a success. My name is Ruth Blossom. Tomorrow is another day on Women's Corner that starts from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. Join me tomorrow. Until then, have a beautiful day and bye for now.